What should you be thinking about in the first three rounds of your fantasy football draft for a 12-team half-point PPR in 2022? We break down the picks and the strategies you need to know to dominate here as we begin another edition of Locked On Fantasy Football.
Are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Vinnie Iyer, and I'm not doing this. I'm writing about fantasy football and the NFL at large for sportingnews.com. Check out the site, everything you need to know to dominate your draft, the rankings, the cheat sheets, mock draft analysis, my sleepers, my busts. You can look at snake draft strategy tips. And here we're going to apply all that and what we've talked about here in Locked On Fantasy Football into our mock draft. So what I'm going to do is go through several rounds of a mock here. So what we'll do is we'll take the first three rounds here. We're going to use half-point PPR 12 team as our way to break this down for you. So we'll go through the picks of our teams here that have been involved in this draft, and we'll go through the first three rounds because we want to look at it as a snapshot. There is a big picture. Then we'll continue into the later rounds as we do a mock draft special all this week, as it is mock draft week. Mock drafts turn into real drafts as fantasy football draft holidays coming up this weekend. So most of you will be drafting your teams then. A lot of you will be drafting right before the season starts on the Labor Day holiday, but we want to get you there to know what you should be thinking about when you're on the clock, how you expect the picks might go, what you should be thinking about when you make particular picks at different junctures of your draft. So we'll dive right into that on today's show in a moment. Thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen today. We're free and available to you on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is you cover the season, more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, how we're going to do this is we have our 12 mocked teams that we've created here, and we're going to take them round by round here, and we're going to build to it as we go. So a bit of a progressive jackpot type of show for you. We'll start today with the first three rounds. So we'll start with the first player off the board and get to number 36 overall and fill out three roster spots on our 12 teams each year. So we'll do that here. And let's get started right away. And we'll do the first round in our first segment, second round in our second segment, and third round to close today's show to start a new week or Locked On Fantasy Football. Round one, pick one. We're going to base our team names based on our first round pick for each of these teams. So keep that in mind. That's how we'll refer to them, and it will have a cheeky reference to that player with every pick that they make and every heart that they break on the other teams in this league. All right, let's start with the pick number one. This is the one where you don't need to think about. If you pull this out of your hat or the randomizer says you're getting the number one overall pick, don't think about it. It is Jonathan Taylor. I don't care for standard, half-point PPR, full-point PPR. He is the man. He's the leading rusher in the NFL from last season. Super durable. An offense that is built around his skills there in Indianapolis. He's going to destroy it in that division one more time. So Jonathan Taylor, good bet to repeat as your rushing champion. Very good receiver. I know they're going to involve Nyheim Hines a little bit, but don't worry too much about that. I think we got too worried about that last year, but talent and opportunity are the two things you think about most in fantasy football. Taylor has a ton of both here in Indianapolis. So team one is going to take Jonathan Taylor and rebrand ourselves a dome improvement. Get it? Get it? You get the Colts playing inside a dome and Jonathan Taylor, a little reference to Jonathan Taylor Thomas from Home Improvement. So little deep cut there with our first pun, but you get it. This is how we're going to go. So dome improvement gets Jonathan Taylor as their RB1. A great start to this draft and great if you're that number one spot. Now it gets tricky immediately with that second overall pick. What are you going to do here? Well, I think there's a variety of running backs you can choose from. I think you still stick with running back here. I think I would go running back in the first four picks. Then you can maybe deviate from that. If you're in half and full point PPR, especially, I think you go down the line with four backs. And the key about these backs, of course, they have to be key pass catching forces. So we know Jonathan Taylor can do pretty much that to supplement his big time rushing. This player's in a more wide open, dynamic offense. You figure it's a good shift here for the Vikings. Yeah, we're giving it away. It's not his teammate, Justin Jefferson, at wide receiver, but we're going Dalvin Cook. So Dalvin Cook banging the table for him to go 2 overall. I don't think it's crazy. Any back there that you feel the most comfortable with. If you have durability questions about Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry, I think you can definitely go in a different direction. If you got questions about Najee Harris and the supporting offense and Austin Eckler, can he continue to recreate that as a receiver? You can go with Dalvin Cook. So Dalvin Cook off the board. So no surprises too crazy here early. Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook. So team 2 will dub themselves Dalvin and the Chipmunks. Yeah. We don't know if we're going to have a Simon and a Theodore on this team, but we do have a Dalvin on this team. We might get a James later, Dalvin's brother. So that's who Dalvin's brother is here. So you can't have Alvin, Simon, Theodore, but you could have Dalvin, James, and someone else on your team. All right, let's go to our third overall pick, our team looking for an identity here, and they're going to bang the table for Najee Harris. Look, I love Najee Harris, even at number 2 here. He's a high volume young back, the way that Jonathan Taylor is. The Steelers are going to make them the centerpiece of their offense. I actually think Kenny Pickett gets a chance to start there. It's going to open the offense up even more. Underrated offensive line upgrades here for the Steelers. So Najee Harris locking him in at RB1. So 3 RBs off the board to start. And our team 3 is a fan of not only 1970s music, but also Quentin Tarantino movies. So, and because Najee Harris is running as the bus here, so to speak, in Pittsburgh, Steelers wheels. That's right. No stuck in the middle with this team. They're going right there with Najee Harris at number 3. So Steelers wheels comes up with another running back. So we will go to our 4th option here. We're going to stick with running back here for our 4th team, and they're looking for their team name as well with this pick. So it's critical for that. That's a secondary thing, but you want to have a name in mind for your team that's fun. And we're basing it on the picks here. So we're going with Austin Eckler. He's a PPR gold machine in the powder blues. He's going to dominate again as a key cog for the Chargers. There might be some touchdown regression, but we'll still take it. He can still finish pretty high here. So looked up Austin Eckler's salary here per season, and we know his first name is Austin. Now we're getting to Steve Austin. We can rebuild him bigger, faster, stronger. Also a fan of the 70s here. The $6 million man. Or we're going to play off that and call ourselves the $6 million men. Yeah. The men of Austin Eckler are the $6 million men. So that's our team of number 4. So 4 running backs as a run to start the draft. We go to number 5, and this is where you can deviate to wide receiver. Now, we've talked about it. Justin Jefferson or Cooper Kupp. Kevin O'Connell, that Rams influence is going to Minnesota. I do like Cooper Kupp, but there is Allen Robinson on the other side to cut into that. He also had a historic season. It's hard to match that ceiling once again. He's also a little bit older, 29 years old, has some knee injury issues. Jefferson has nothing here. 2 monster seasons for Jefferson out of the gate. They're historic seasons for the Vikings receiver. Some Randy Moss comparisons there. So team 5 is going Justin Jefferson, and no, we're not going where we could go and call ourselves the Jeffersons or even Good Times with JJ. We know our team can be dynamite here, but we're going modern here and a little bit of timely relevance, but to a modern dance. And I saw him do this. He's an incredible dancer. We're going with Getting Gritty with It. Getting Gritty with It in honor of Justin Jefferson, the best gritty dancer out there from LSU. So that's team number 5, breaking the trend here and going wide receiver. So keep that in mind. These teams have gone 4 running backs, 1 wide receiver. That's going to influence, of course, what we do in round 2. All right. Derrick Henry is off the board next. And yeah, you can worry a little bit about the foot injury, the wear and tear, but he's still the centerpiece of the offense. I like him a little bit more than Christian McCaffrey because I think Henry's got a little more freakish qualities to get on track here. Henry's also had the more recent big seasons here. Still, what the Titans want to do primarily, especially with their receiving core mixed up. So I'm Henry the Great I Am is the team that we're going with number 6 here. So I'm Henry the Great I Am. Been doing this a couple times before as a dominant force in fantasy football. So he is our 6th pick. So back to the running back train there. Now we're going to pivot back to wide receiver because, again, we have some concerns with some of the other guys. Joe Mixon would not be a bad pick here. That's where I might think about, or Christian McCaffrey if you're going high risk, high reward. But we're going with Cooper Kupp. Yeah, he was a dominant fantasy force last year. He might drop down a little bit, but look, you're still going to take him in the first round if he's there with Justin Jefferson. Those two are for sure in whatever format you're looking at. Maybe in standard, these two are the only guys that go among the wide receivers, but half point, full point, you would expect these two to start a run at wide receiver. So we're going with the team name for this team as we get into team number 7. It's called Cups When I'm Gone, parentheses. So Cups When I'm Gone, tribute to the great Anna Kendrick here. Every fantasy football analyst's favorite actress here. So we're going with Anna Kendrick and that inspiration with Cooper Kupp, going a little bit Hollywood and all that. Cups, in parentheses, When I'm Gone is the name of this team. All right, now we're going back to running backs here with our next team, our team number 8 on the board. Team number 8 is not a creative enough nickname. So Christian McCaffrey, they're going to take a chance. They think Christian McCaffrey is going to stay healthy. I'm not going to be a fan of it. I'm going to let someone else make that mistake and take that risk. But I'm going to go with guys like Harris and Eckler, Henry, even a Joe Mixon, who went off the board a little bit later in this first round. So we're going with Christian McCaffrey here. And because of that, we're going with CMC Scoring Factory. Yep. Looking for some points and going to make the other team sweat, baby, is what we're looking for with CMC Scoring Factory. Now, back to wide receiver. Here's back and forth here. We went Jefferson to Henry to Kupp, McCaffrey. We're going back to wide receiver for this team, and it's Jamar Chase. He's that holy trinity, that trio of dominant receivers from last year that are rolling and have that same big-time role in 2022. So we're going with some Jamar Chase. We're going to keep this team name very simple here, and we're going with Championship Chase. It's the time with NASCAR and all that. So we're inspired. Championship Chase. Let's just make it easy. And he's our wide receiver 1. So Joe Mixon, team number 10, is a little bit excited because they think they get a good value here at the 10th pick. That's what happens in every draft, right? Someone slips and you get really excited because of the way things work out. And you got to be recognizing of that. Who's a really good value here? Where did the tiers drop off? And this is where the tiers drop off, folks. There's some question marks there with the backs kind of behind. There's some timeshare questions, usage questions, but Joe Mixon is the last of the guys when healthy is going to be on the field there. So Joe Mixon as an RB1, and we're going to keep it simple too. Championship Chase, oh yeah, we'll see you, and we'll call ourselves a winning Mixon. A winning Mixon. So getting that right mix of picks is important, starting with Joe Mixon. Excellent way for team number 10 to go and rebranded as now a winning Mixon. And now you want to take it to the house all the time. You want to have a nice house in fantasy football. Who's another wide receiver that can slip into the first round? Is it going to be Devontae Adams? No, we're going to go actually with Stephon Diggs. I think he has a big year. Gabriel Davis having some deflection on the other side in coverage. Diggs, I think, is going to be more like the 2020 version than 2021. 2021 is very excellent as well, but we're going to look here at the 2020 version returning with Josh Allen. This team is a front runner here for the Super Bowl. So we're going simple with our name with Stephon Diggs going with the 4th wide receiver off the board here in round 1. And we're going Stephon Diggs and calling our team name Nice Diggs. Nice Diggs. That's the house that we're building here as team number 11. All right. We're going to our 12th team. And guess who's not been taken? What position's not been taken? It is tight end. And I really would bang the table for Travis Kelce to go in all first rounds here. Even if it's the very last pick in a 12-teamer, he's that special. There's little volatility. He's a clear number 1 receiver in Kansas City. They're sorting everything else out. He's been a force to be reckoned with. He's been money in the bank, as consistent as they get. One of the safest picks you could make, return on investment. We're going with Travis Kelce there. Yeah, we're getting bold as team number 12, but we know that we can turn the corner and get another pick there in the second round to be determined. But, we're fans of English Premier League soccer, so we're going to pick our guy here, Travis Kelce, to make our team Kelce FC. Yeah, we're just going to call ourselves Kelce FC. So there you have it. There's a breakdown of the first round here and strategies and what we're thinking of when we're on the clock. So we will get to these teams starting with Kelce FC making their picks in round 2. We'll do that in our second segment. Before we do that, I told you at the top, this episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events, the number one online source for odds, lines, games. Find reviews and news in every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. And don't worry, there's going to be real games. There's only one more week of the NFL preseason. Then we're going to get into the regular season here and have a chance to do that. So a lot of fun to look at here. And the action is going to just rev up. We cannot wait that week 1 is on the board for real. You can look at the action right now for week 1 with the early lines. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sporting wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. Head to BetOnline today. Use a mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, we will continue looking at our rounds 1 through 3 mock draft strategy for 12-team half-point PPR in a moment. Thanks again for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. It is Fantasy Draft Week on the Locked On Podcast Network. That's why we're talking all about mock draft. However you play, experts from Locked On Fantasy Football, that's me, and Locked On Dynasty Football, yes, check them out. They're a team of Marcus, Kate, Ryan, and Matt will bring you daily positional top 10 lists to get you ready for the season. Find Locked On Fantasy Football and Locked On Dynasty Football on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. So we will bring that to you. We'll get a top 10 list here to close the show, and we'll bring that at quarterback. So we'll take care of quarterback rankings today, how we broke them down for you on the program. So good stuff there that we're going to look at here. So excited about that. Now we're excited about going into round 2 here of our mock draft. So let's do that here. And okay, we left off with Kelce FC here. That's going to be a tongue twister as we get through this, but it is Kelce FC. So we're going to go into now their next pick. So we've done the luxury pick of tight end here. So now we need to go here to a bread and butter pick. We need someone that's going to be just a great value here that we're looking at. So I really want to just go with the safe pick here that we know is going to bring us numbers and good returns. So let's break it down for you. I think it has to be Aaron Jones. I think he's going to have a special year here for the Packers. Look, there is a lot of concern about A.J. Dillon cutting into the workload, but that's what you're going to get now. There are committee situations here as we go forward. Aaron Jones, however, we know with Aaron Rodgers, if there's scaled back production, what a big year he had there in the first year of Matt LaFleur in 2019. That could happen again. Jones and A.J. Dillon should be quite involved in the passing game here. So I really feel comfortable with Jones. I think he's being underdrafted here. So durable as they come, has the Dillon relief there to help him. So Aaron Jones, go there. Another team that will be heavily running back dependent will be the Cleveland Browns. And with Deshaun Watson now out for 11 games, they're going to lean on the run a lot. It happened last year with Baker Mayfield struggling. I don't know if Jacoby Brissett being a caretaker is that much of a drop-off here. So we look at that, and we do love some Nick Chubb here. So we had Stephon Diggs in the first round. Nice Diggs. He's going to build their team and get their RB1 with Nick Chubb. This works out nicely for a winning Mixon as they took Joe Mixon as RB1 in round 1. They should think about, again, diversifying the portfolio. I don't believe, especially in half-point PPR where so many backs are valuable, that I'm not just going to go zero RB. There's just too much volatility and question marks about roles here. I think you need to get some viable RB option within the first 3 rounds. So this in 1, I get maybe trying to fill RB2 with attrition and guys that pop up and sleepers, injuries are going to happen, open the door for others. But I like to have one running back in the first 3 rounds because it's such a scarce position. And you have to start 2. Keep that in mind. Wide receiver, there's some good depth. I know you're starting 3. Tight end, you only start 1, but you want to make sure, again, you have at least 1 running back you can hang your helmet on for weekly production here. So you look at that, you have Joe Mixon and Devontae Adams, good combination there. So you have Diggs and Chubb, Kelsey and Jones. All these teams are taking care of running backs. So now it's up to championship chase. They took Jamar Chase in round one. Following that philosophy, we're going DeAndre Swift. So some upside players here. But Swift, very more favorable here for him in half point and full PPR. I think he could be an Austin Eckler type in the production, even if they limit his touches in the passing or in the running game. Passing game touches are going to be there for DeAndre Swift. So good combinations here. So stacking RB1s if we don't have one. Now, CMC Music Factory did get one in the first round with Christian McCaffrey. So now they're excited because now they can focus on a wide receiver. And I think the easy choice here is CeeDee Lamb. After the big five, so to speak, that would be Jefferson, Kupp, Chase, Diggs, and Adams. CeeDee Lamb has a good case to be sixth off the board. He's clear number one dominant targets there. So good, again, diversifying the portfolio, pretty important here. So all these teams getting different guys at different positions. That is nice to see. All right, Cups. When I'm gone, got Cooper Kupp, so they can go for running back. We don't know about Alvin Kamara's suspension, so you can't read into that right now. He's a RB1, no doubt about it. He's going to be the centerpiece of the offense. Mark Ingram is there, but a little bit concerned maybe that suspension could come later. But for now, we got to operate not like that. The downfield pass game may limit Kamara's catches a little bit, but still like Kamara as an RB1. So Kupp, Kamara, the K's have it. Good combination, wide receiver one, RB1. Now, this puts I am Henry the Great I Am in a tough spot. Do they go for that second RB? It's kind of in the question mark range of is the tier dropping off at running back or wide receiver? What do you do? Well, Derrick Henry, there are some question marks. So you would think it's hard to double down on risk here with injury, but Saquon Barkley is a really good value here as an RB2 that you go in that direction because now you hope that one of these guys is going to stay healthy and productive. You can do a handcuffing situation later. It's going to be pretty cheap, whether you go Hassan Haskins or Gary Brightwell. So now you can focus on other positions a lot in your draft and go for that depth. So that's what you get if you go running back, and that's what this team did. Now, I would prefer to get one of those top wide receivers, but I'm not going to force it here if I feel that a running back is a little bit better value. All right, another team going with upside is getting gritty with it. We want Justin Jefferson to have a pair of running backs. So this team is going for a little bit more upside here. Barkley, I see it why you took Barkley is the Derrick Henry manager to try to get two workhorses. But Javonte Williams is going to split with Melvin Gordon, but I like it. Justin Jefferson's going to exceed expectations as a wide receiver one. Javonte Williams, high upside player, you can go. So youthful upside there, going with a second-year running back and a third-year wide receiver. That's sometimes a good way to go. I tend to be an upside drafter and go there. Now, $6 million man, $6 million men, they become that now with a second pick. So they also like a running back here. Austin Eckler, they kind of see him operating a little bit as a receiver. Leonard Fournette, another good receiving back here. So they could go that direction. They're going to make up some catches in that sense. So Eckler and Fournette, I would, if I'm the Fournette manager, look for Rachaad White later in the draft. All right, Steelers wheels took Najee Harris. So they got some wheels there with Harris. Now they're going to look at Deebo Samuel. His running role is going to be a little bit diminished for Trey Lance and Elijah Mitchell there, but Samuel's still going to be a big factor at wide receiver, playing off Brandon Ayuk and Danny Gray and Juwan Jennings and George Kittle. So I like him as a wide receiver one. Do like him behind Deebo Samuel. So tough spot here, but Harris, RB1, wide receiver one with Deebo. We go Dalvin Cook, Dalvin and the Chipmunks. They like Mike Evans here, solid for the touchdowns. Cook, the receiving pump there. So now you can diversify your portfolio again. Go for someone with the touchdowns to boost your total here. So Mike Evans there as your wide receiver one, so RB1, wide receiver one. And Jonathan Taylor, they feel really good that they have a big advantage at the running back, dome improvement. So what did we say? The rules of tight ends, Travis Kelce sometime in the first, Mark Andrews sometime in the second. So dome improvement can go in that direction here in round two because, again, they have that little bit of edge. They can do a little bit of luxury work here if you get that number one pick. So that's what you're doing with Andrews, but you get Andrews operating, giving you a big advantage of tight end. And pretty good wide receiver value still on the board here in relation to having Taylor and Andrews already on your roster. All right, we will get into our third round of picks here on the show. Then we'll run down my top 10 rankings as well at quarterback. So we'll do that. We'll tackle a different position here every week on top of some mock draft analysis. So good stuff for you. And we'll recap all that here for you on Friday. So we'll introduce our top 10s here and what we're thinking, and that's good because we'll also have a quarterback drafted off the board here in round three. You're hanging out with some friends and putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to an end, people start to head out. You think of calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. What are the odds you'll get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. Everyone knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're ready to drive after your drinks, think again. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. And we thank the NHTSA for giving us that important message here on Locked On Fantasy Football. All right, it is time to close the show. We'll run down our picks here in the third round of strategies we are thinking about. So, number one we're thinking about is diversifying your portfolio. Know what you have. Know that you have a little bit of leeway to go in a different direction. Make sure you're not loading up on one position and becoming too weak here. Have a good core team. So, we'll look at each team as we go along here. Dome improvement. Here you got AJ Brown is a great pick. So we could do the turn. I call this the Michael Phelps, hitting the wall and hitting it coming out nicely off the turn and that looking good. So the Phelps position here, we go from Andrews to AJ Brown. So good, solid team for Dome improvement. Taylor, Andrews, AJ Brown. Our next team is fortunate that Tyreek Hill's still on the board. So they got Dalvin Cook. So they're thinking we can wait on running back 2 here. So we're going to go for our wide receiver 2. The tight ends, we're not quite ready for Kyle Pitts. So we're going to add Tyreek Hill. So Dalvin and the Chipmunks, Dalvin Cook, Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill. Really good starting run there. Keenan Allen is pretty solid here for our next team. So same thing. They feel great about Harris, taking him early so we can get a wide receiver 2 that is a borderline wide receiver 1, and Keenan Allen. So you got Debo, who can score a lot. Allen, who's a big volume guy. Good mix, again, of the portfolio. Different types of players there for you. All right, so we got $6 million men with Austin Eckler and Leonard Fournette. They want to go with a wide receiver with some upside for their wide receiver 1. Keep in mind when we had Hill and Allen, they were wide receiver 2s. Michael Pittman Jr., all the reports are great. The connection with Matt Ryan, he could be this year's Calvin Ridley from a couple years ago. So Michael Pittman is the choice here as your wide receiver 1. Good pickup here by $6 million men. Recognize the sleeper. Now, Justin Jefferson getting gritty with it, a big advantage of wide receiver. You got Javonte Williams on the upside there, but now we want someone who has a dedicated role that's going to get us some touchdowns here. Javonte might see some touchdown to Melvin Gordon. James Conner, coming off a big season here. So we're going with James Conner as our pick here again. Good building of your team. You have some confident starters you can feel good about. Now, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, you get those teams as I'm Henry the Great. I am. You got to go with a wide receiver here. So you settle again for maybe wide receiver 2 with some wide receiver 1 upside. You're going with T. Higgins. The Bengals finished there right at the borderline. He's going to have another big year on the outside playing off Jamar Chase with the scoring with Joe Burrow. So good recovery there after you went RBRB. Now this team, Cooper Kupp, they can look at, okay, we can go for another running back, much like the team with Justin Jefferson. So Kupp's when I've gone, that's Kupp and Kamara. They're going to go with Ezekiel Elliott. I think Elliott is being a bit undervalued here. He's still a high end back who's going to be in position to score quite a bit. Tony Pollard's there, but Pollard actually helps Elliott stay fresh here to be a big part of the offense. I think the Cowboys' offensive line is upgraded. They're going to lean a little bit more on the run, too, a little less at wide receiver here. So I love that pick. So Kupp, Kamara, Elliott for Kupp's when I'm gone, our team number 7. Team number 8 already has Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb. They're feeling it. They want to have a bona fide big-time scorer. This is the time they want to attack the quarterback. They don't want to dip into the tight ends. They're not feeling it, forcing it at wide receiver as they already have Lamb. They don't want to necessarily go for the young backs with upside quite yet. So they're going tried and true, giving themselves an advantage at quarterback with Josh Allen. We'll get into our QB ranks here to close the show, but Allen should be the QB1 off the board no matter what. So McCaffrey, Lamb, and Allen diversifying a different way, but you took care of the RB1 or one wide receiver 1, and that's what we want to do that if we're going tight end or QB. Speaking of tight end, this is a team that we love with upside here. So championship chase, we had Jamar Chase, DeAndre Swift, some great speed on this team, athleticism. We're going to roll out another second-year player on this team to get excited about here. So this is the kind of team actually I would draft. A lot of upside there. And maybe you're thinking Chase, NASCAR, pit stop. And we're going tight end here with Kyle Pitts. 1, 2, 3. There's our philosophy there. Travis Kelce is capable going at the end of round 1. Mark Andrews somewhere at the end of round 2. And Kyle Pitts somewhere at the end of round 3. Those are the right values. So Kyle Pitts, you get a tight end that acts like a wide receiver, closing out that top tier, really tier 1A and 1B at tight end. So Chase, Swift, and Pitts, an upside team. Next team's kind of a good wheelhouse. We have Mixon and Adams there, winning Mixon. Let's add Breece Hall to the mix here, the Jets rookie running back. So first rookie off the board here of considerable note. So taking some chances, going for upside there. But Breece Hall is the lead of the Jets backfield. He should get 250 touches easily here. So good choice there. Nice Diggs is inspired. They've got Stephon Diggs and Nick Chubb. They might have thought about Josh Allen or Pitts, but now they can go for upside at running back. So they're going to go for their RB2. Again, balance it out, Mixon and Breece Hall, Nick Chubb, and Travis Etienne, a good mix here. I love the way Etienne is being used for the Jaguars early, so that's the pick here for nice Diggs. So Diggs, Chubb, Etienne, pretty good start there. And finally, we're down to Kelce FC, and they have Kelce at tight end 1, and we know that because that's their namesake. You have Aaron Jones at RB1, so you're feeling pretty good. We like the solid players. We just want to go solid, tried and true. We know what the roles are. So Deontay Johnson. I know George Pickens is getting a lot of buzz, but that's because he's the best receiver after Deontay Johnson in Pittsburgh. So DJ Moore is also consideration, but I like Deontay a little bit better, especially if Kenny Pickett quarterback against Mitchell Trubisky. Deontay is going to be targeted a lot, high volume here. I think he has more touchdown upside than DJ Moore and a better overall offense, even if it's Kenny Pickett versus Baker Mayfield. So that's what I'm going with. That's for your team. So we try to make all the teams very happy here. So that's our takeaways here from the first round. Just go for the values. Don't reach. Don't lock yourself in a position. Make yourself flexible and try to make sure you get a running back and wide receiver before there's a big drop off at either position within the first 3 rounds. Then you can fill it in. If you have a luxury pick a quarterback or tight end, you can do that as well. And we saw 3 teams take a tight end and 1 team take a quarterback. That's about right. If someone else is reaching, you take an extra quarterback or a tight end. I think it's a little bit egregious here in those rounds. But that's what you should be thinking here. And we'll pick up those teams where they left off there as we look at rounds 4, 5, and 6 on the next show. We're going to do a quick rundown of the rankings. We did consensus rankings here, so let's break it down for you. This is my top 10 at quarterback real quick. Josh Allen, number 1. We have Justin Herbert, number 2. We have Patrick Mahomes, number 3. So pretty standard there with the rankings. I think Justin Herbert can be the MVP. Allen Herbert, so sticking with the scoring from last year. Mahomes, he's got too high of a floor to drop him beyond 3. So I have him at 3. Lamar Jackson settles in at 4. I'm reluctantly putting Jalen Hurts at 5. I really like Jalen Hurts quite a bit. I think A.J. Brown is there. I like his passing running upside a little bit more than some other quarterbacks. So Jalen Hurts have had a little bit of change of heart on here with the Brown development and what he's done in the preseason. I'm actually going Tom Brady next at number 6. He's going to come back. He's going to be fine. He's got a lot of weapons. He finished really high as the QB4 last year. I don't think he drops more than 2 notches here. So I have him at QB6. I have Kyler Murray drop down to 7 here, so a little bit lower than other people because of the rushing concerns here. Definitely I have him lowest as anyone on the network. Joe Burrow, kind of the consensus is about 8, and that's where I have him in the rankings here. So a little bit drop down there in the rankings than others, but Joe Burrow doesn't give me the running ability. So I like looking at the Kyler Murray. I like Jalen Hurts a little bit more than him as a running quarterback, and I like Tom Brady more than Joe Burrow there as a pocket quarterback. Number 9 for me, that settles it pretty easily. It is Rayne Dakota Prescott. It's a pretty solid spot for him. Good value there. I think it's tough to invest in that Murray Burrow Prescott tier when you have some good values right behind them. At number 10, I have Matthew Stafford. He's got Cooper Kupp and 1. Allen Robinson. It's not going to be a big drop off here. I know there's some elbow concerns, but he's still consistent here. I like Trey Lance to be a little bit safer pick at 11. Don't want to go in that direction that high, but my quarterback 12 on the board is Aaron Rodgers. So that's a pretty good value. I like Lance and the running upside a little bit more. Stafford and the weaponry and the numbers there that can be put up a little bit more. Same thing with Prescott. That's why I have Prescott at 9, Stafford at 10, Lance at 11, and Rodgers at 12. So top 10 and beyond, taking you through what I'm thinking with the QB1s here in fantasy football for 2022. And again, we'll go over these rankings again. We'll do a special ranking show there for you at the end of the week, recapping all this to get you set for your drafts, but teasing it with a little bit every day. And that's my rankings. You can check out the rankings of Locked On Dynasty hosts as well. So we're varied across the board. So we'll look at the discrepancies and all that there on Friday show. Before then, we'll continue to look at the rounds. So we'll look at rounds 4 through 6. Then we'll get through 7 through 9, then kind of look through 10, 11, 12, and beyond that. So kind of look at where you want to think about beyond the core of your team. You would have filled out your starting lineup, start to look at depth then. So we'll look at 4 aspects of your fantasy football draft, 12 team half point PPR here throughout the week, and close with a good rankings review there for you. So all kinds of good stuff coming as you get prepped for your drafts here on Locked On Fantasy Football. Thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. Now make sure you check out Locked On NFL, give you the reality perspective of all things happening in NFL preseason as they get ready for the regular season with our team of experts. For Locked On Fantasy Football, this is Vinnie Iyer. Have a great day, and we'll check you out tomorrow as we take a look at the mock draft rounds 4 through 6, picks and strategies.